My name is Emily, and my daughter, Lily, is 7 years old. We live in a quiet neighborhood called Willow Creek, just outside of Salem, Massachusetts. It's a place where trees sway in the autumn wind and clapboard houses creak with ancient stories. I always thought our life was ordinary, until that day when everything changed. It was a Saturday afternoon. The sky was gray with heavy clouds that promised rain. Lily was playing in the yard, chasing butterflies, when a man appeared at the gate. He was tall and thin, and wore a long, dark coat that looked out of place in the muggy September heat. His face was partially obscured by a wide-brimmed hat, and he was holding something wrapped in brown paper. I don't know why, but I felt a chill run down my spine when he looked at me. "For the girl," he said huskily, holding out the package. Before I could ask who he was or why he was there, he turned and disappeared down the street. I stared at the package in my hands, feeling a weight I couldn't explain. Lily ran over to me, her eyes bright with curiosity. "Is this for me, Mommy?" she asked, already trying to open the paper. "Hold on, honey," I said hesitantly. We tore the paper open, and there it was, a little toy monkey with frayed brown fur, opaque glass eyes, and a small red drum attached to its chest. It contained small drumsticks and, at the bottom, a compartment for batteries. Lily squealed with delight. "He's so cool," she exclaimed, hugging the monkey. "I'm going to name him Charlie." I don't know why, but something about the toy bothered me. Maybe it was the way the glass eyes seemed to follow me around, or the faint musty smell that emanated from them. But Lily was enchanted, so I kept my reservations. After all, it was just a toy, right? That night, Lily insisted on putting batteries in the monkey. I found 2 AA batteries in the back of a drawer, and when I put them in, the monkey came to life. The drumsticks began beating the drum in a steady, almost hypnotic rhythm. Thump, thump, thump. Lily clapped her hands together, laughing, as Charlie played. But I couldn't take my eyes off him. Something was wrong. The sound seemed to echo louder than it should, as if it were coming from somewhere beyond the toy. The next morning, the first strange thing happened. Our neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, a kind woman who always brought Lily cookies, had an accident. She slipped on her porch steps and broke her ankle. It wasn't fatal, but it was strange. She said she felt something pushing her, even though she was alone. I went to visit her in the hospital, and while we were talking, Lily was playing with Charlie in the backyard. I could hear the thump-thump of the drum even from so far away. A few days later, something else happened. Mr. Carter, our mailman, a healthy man who had been driving the same route for years, got a flat tire right in front of our house. His car slid and almost hit a tree. He was unhurt, but he was shaken. "Nothing like this has ever happened before," she said, scratching her head. Meanwhile, Charlie was playing the drum in Lily's room. I began to notice a pattern. Every time Lily put batteries in the monkey, something bad happened. These weren't just accidents, they were weird, small, but disturbing things. Our friend Sarah's teenage daughter, Mia, lost her scholarship due to an unexplained clerical error. The neighbor's dog, who always barked at Charlie, suddenly fell ill. And last week, Mr. Jenkins, who works at the local supermarket, had a nervous breakdown in the middle of his shift, saying he could hear thumps in his head. I tried to talk to Lily about the monkey, suggesting that it might be best to put it away for a while. But she was inconsolable. "Charlie's my friend, Mommy. He can do no wrong," she cried, hugging the toy. I didn't insist, but I was starting to get scared. Not of the monkey itself, but of what it seemed to be carrying. Last night, while Lily was sleeping, I took the batteries out of Charlie and put him on the dresser. But early this morning, I was awakened by a sound. Thump, thump, thump. I ran to Lily's room, my heart pounding. She was fast asleep, but the monkey was on the nightstand, its drumsticks moving, its drum echoing. The batteries I had removed were back in the compartment. Today, I decided I had to do something. I don't know who the man was, or where this toy came from, but I can't ignore what's happening. I'll start by looking for answers in Salem. This town has a history of strange things, and maybe someone knows something about this monkey. For now, Charlie is locked in the attic, but I have a feeling that won't stop him. As I write this, I hear a distant sound, like a muffled drum. Thump, thump, thump. And through the window, I see a shadow flitting across the yard. I don't know what's happening, but I fear that this is just the beginning. I woke up with my heart in my throat, the echo of the thump, thump, thump still reverberating in my mind. It was early, the sun had barely risen, and Willow Creek was shrouded in a thick fog that seemed to suffocate the neighborhood. I had locked Charlie in the attic last night, inside a metal box I had found in the basement, but the feeling that he was still there would not leave me. I decided that today would be the day to seek answers, no matter what the cost. Lily came down for breakfast, rubbing her eyes. "Where's Charlie, Mommy?" she asked, her voice thick with concern. I tried to remain calm. "He's in storage, honey. Just for a little while," I said, forcing a smile. She pouted, but didn't insist. Thank God. I don't know what I would do if she asked to see him. After dropping Lily off at school, I begin my search. Salem is a small town, but it's full of secrets. There are occult shops on almost every corner, and people here talk about witches and curses as if they were as common as the weather. I drove to Hawthorne Street, where I found the Silver Moon, an esoteric shop my friend Claire had once mentioned. The owner, a woman named Margaret, was known for knowing things no one else could explain. The bell on the door jingled as I walked in. The air smelled of incense and dried herbs, and the shelves were crammed with candles, crystals, and leather-bound books. Margaret, a middle-aged woman with gray hair and piercing eyes, greeted me with a look that seemed to see right through me. "What brings you here, Emily?" she asked bluntly. I was surprised that she knew my name, but I didn't question it. I told her everything: the strange man, the little monkey, the accidents, the sound of the drum even though it had no batteries. As I spoke, Margaret frowned, drumming her fingers on the table. "Toys like this don't just happen," she said finally. "They're anchors, objects that carry something, or someone." "Did you say the drum plays by itself?" I nodded, feeling a chill run down my spine. Margaret stood and took a thick book from a shelf. As she flipped through the yellowed pages, she muttered something about traveling curses and trapped spirits. She told me to bring the monkey to the store as soon as possible, but she warned, "Don't activate it. Don't put batteries in it. Don't touch it more than necessary. And keep your daughter away from it." I left the store with a heavy heart, but a glimmer of hope. Maybe Margaret could help us. On the way home, I stopped to pick up Lily from school. When I got there, she was in the playground, playing with her best friend, Sophie, a cheerful girl who lived 2 streets away from us. The two of them were laughing and running around in circles, and for a moment, I felt relief. Lily had seemed so normal, so happy. But then it happened. We were driving home, me driving and Lily in the back seat, humming a school song. Sophie, who had hitched a ride because her mom was running late, was sitting next to Lily, telling a funny story about her cat. Suddenly, I heard a low, barely audible sound coming from the trunk. Thump, thump, thump. My blood ran cold. The monkey was in the attic, locked away. There was no way it could be him. Or was it? "Did you guys hear that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Lily and Sophie shook their heads in confusion. The sound stopped, and I told myself I was imagining it. But then, as we turned the corner onto our street, a delivery truck appeared out of nowhere, cutting in front of us. I whipped the wheel hard, the tires screeching on the asphalt. The car skidded to a stop just inches from a tree. Lily screamed, and Sophie started to cry. My heart was beating so fast I could barely breathe. "Are you guys okay?" I asked, turning to the back seat. Lily nodded, her eyes wide, but Sophie was pale, clutching her chest. "I can't breathe," she whispered, before passing out. I called an ambulance, my voice shaking as I explained what had happened. The paramedics arrived within minutes, and they took Sophie to the hospital. Lily and I followed, and as we waited in the emergency room, Sophie's mother, Rachel, arrived, panicked. "What happened to my daughter?" she asked, tears streaming down her face. I didn't know what to say. At the hospital, the doctors had said that Sophie had had a severe asthma attack, something she'd never had before. She was stable now, but for a few minutes, they thought they might lose her. Rachel hugged her daughter in relief, but I couldn't stop shaking. The thump 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 echoed in my head. When we finally got back to the house, I ran to the attic. The metal box was still there, locked. But when I opened it, my stomach turned. The monkey wasn't inside. I ran downstairs and found Charlie sitting on Lily's bed, his drumsticks raised as if he were about to play. Beside him was a note scrawled in my daughter's childish handwriting. "Charlie wanted to go out." Lily E was in the living room, watching TV. "Did you catch the monkey, Lily?" I asked, trying not to scream. She looked at me innocently. "No, Mommy. He was there when I got home from school." At that moment, I locked Charlie in the trunk of the car, wrapped him in a cloth, and taped him shut. "Tomorrow, I'm going to take him to Margaret's house and demand answers." But even as I write this, I hear something. A soft sound, coming from the backyard. Thump thump thump. And through the window, I see the fog moving, as if it were alive, forming a shape I can't quite make out. I'm afraid Sophie was just the beginning, and I'm even more afraid that next time, someone else won't be so lucky. I woke before dawn, the weight of fear still weighing on my chest. The house was silent except for the soft creaking of the floorboards, as if Willow Creek were whispering its own secrets. Lily slept in the next room, oblivious to what was happening, but I couldn't close my eyes without seeing the monkey's glass eyes, or hearing the thump 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 that seemed to haunt me. Charlie was still in the trunk of the car, wrapped and taped shut, but I knew that wasn't enough. Today, I would take this cursed toy to Margaret at Silver Moon and demand answers. I left Lily a note saying I would be back before lunch, and asked our neighbor, Mrs. Larson, to keep an eye on her. Before I left, I checked Lily's room one last time. Everything seemed normal, but the air was heavy, as if something unseen was watching. I grabbed my car keys and drove to Hawthorne Street, the monkey in the passenger seat, still wrapped. Even so, I could have sworn I could feel it moving inside the cloth. When I reached the Silver Moon, the bell on the door jingled, but the sound seemed muffled, as if the shop were in another world. Margaret was behind the counter, fiddling with a bundle of dried herbs. Her eyes met mine immediately, and she motioned for me to come closer. "You brought it," she said, no question in her voice. I set the package on the counter, and when she unwrapped it, I saw something flash across her face, not fear, but a kind of dark recognition. Margaret held the monkey carefully, as if it were a bomb. Charlie's glass eyes gleamed in the dim light of the shop, and for a moment I swear I saw the drumsticks tremble. "I've seen something like this before," she murmured, turning the toy over to inspect the base. There was a faint inscription, a symbol that looked like a cross between a circle and a cross, etched into the rusted metal. "This is a seal. It's not just a toy, Emily. It's a conduit." "A conduit for what?" I asked, my voice shaking. Margaret didn't answer right away. She picked up a magnifying glass and examined the symbol, frowning. "There are old stories in Salem," she began, "of objects that carry intentions. Not spirits, exactly, but something worse. Energies that feed on chaos, on suffering. Someone put this in your path on purpose." "Who?" I asked, feeling my anger rising. "That man who gave me the monkey. Who was he?" Margaret shook her head. "I don't know, but whoever it was, he knew what he was doing. This seal is a marker. It binds the object to whoever activated it, in this case, your daughter, when she put the batteries in it. My stomach turned. So it's because of Lily that these things are happening? It's not her fault, Margaret said firmly. But she's the trigger. Every time the drum hits, it releases something. And it's getting stronger. I thought of Sophie, in the hospital, struggling to breathe. Of the accidents, of the bad things that had seemed to orbit around us since Charlie had come into our lives. What happened to Sophie yesterday? Was it him? Margaret hesitated, and that scared me more than any answer. Probably. But the fact that she survived means there's still time. If someone had died, she paused, as if the words were too heavy. You have to destroy this, Emily. But it's not that simple. Burning or breaking it might release what's inside, and then it'll be worse. So what do? I asked, almost shouting. Margaret grabbed a vial of black powder from a shelf and drew a circle around the monkey on the counter. I'll try to seal his energy, at least for now. But I need time to research the symbol and figure out how to undo the bond. Come back tomorrow. And Emily, don't let Lily near him. No matter what. I left the store with Margaret's promise echoing in my head, but without the monkey. She'd insisted on keeping it, saying it was safer. On the way back, I felt a momentary relief, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But it didn't last long. When I got home, I found Lily sitting on the living room floor, drawing. Beside her was a piece of paper with a crude drawing of a monkey playing a drum. Look, Mommy. It's Charlie, she said, smiling. My heart stopped. Before I could say anything, I heard a noise coming from the kitchen. Thump, thump, thump. I ran over, but there was nothing there. The house was empty except for me and Lily. I walked back into the living room, trying to remain calm, and asked, Lily, did you hear anything just now? She shook her head, but her eyes were bright with something that wasn't innocence. Charlie said he's coming back, Mom. He likes me. Just then, my phone rang. It was Rachel, Sophie's mother, crying. Emily, it's Sophie. She's gotten worse. The doctors don't know what's wrong. Her heart is stopping. I hung up the phone, my hands shaking. Sophie, I was alive when I left the hospital yesterday, but now. I ran to the car, yelling for Mrs. Larson to take care of Lily. As I drove to the hospital, all I could think about was one thing: Charlie wasn't at Margaret's store. He was here somehow, and he was closer than I thought. The drive to the hospital seemed endless, each red light a punishment. My heart was pounding so loudly it drowned out the roar of the engine. Sophie was fighting for her life, and I couldn't shake the feeling that Charlie, or whatever was inside him, was responsible. Lily stayed with Mrs. Larson, but her words echoed in my head. Charlie said he'll be back, Mommy. He loves me. How could she know that? What was that damn monkey doing to my daughter? At the hospital, I found Rachel in the waiting room, her face swollen from crying. Sophie was in intensive care, hooked up to machines that beeped in a rhythm that seemed to mock the thump-thump-thump of a drum. The doctors said her heart had suddenly gone into arrhythmia, something that didn't explain her previous asthma attack. It's like her body is fighting something we can't see, one of them told me, puzzled. Rachel held my hand, but I could barely look at her. Guilt consumed me. If I hadn't accepted that toy, none of this would be happening. I drove home exhausted, but with no intention of sleeping. I left Lily with Mrs. Larson for a few more hours and drove to Silver Moon. I needed answers, now. When I walked in, Margaret was standing in the back of the store, surrounded by lit candles and the strong smell of burning herbs. The monkey stood in the center of a circle of salt, with symbols drawn in chalk around it. The sticks were still, but the glass eyes seemed to stare at me. It tried to move, Margaret said, not taking her eyes off the toy. The seal is holding it, but not for long. This thing is stronger than I thought. Sophie's worse, I said, my voice cracking. She almost died today. You said it would stay contained. Margaret sighed, rubbing her temples. I underestimated the bond. It's not just with Lily. It's with you too, Emily. Whoever gave you that monkey knew exactly what they were doing. Have you ever crossed paths with anyone who might want to hurt you? Someone from your past? I was silent, trying to think. My life in Salem had always been peaceful. Before Lily was born, I'd worked as a librarian in town, cataloging old books, many of them about local history. I'd never made any enemies, at least not that I knew of. But then a distant memory came to me, almost like a whisper. Years ago, when I was a fresh graduate, I'd helped organize an exhibit at the library about the Salem witch trials. There was a man, a researcher named Elias Crow, who'd come by a few times. He was obsessed with ancient artifacts, especially those tied to stories of curses. Once, he asked me for access to a restricted book, an old tome called the Codex Umbri. I refused, following library rules. He was furious, saying I didn't understand what was at stake. I never saw him again after that. I told Margaret this, and her eyes narrowed. Elias Crow, she repeated, as if the name carried weight. He's a legend among collectors of cursed objects. They say he disappeared years ago, after trying to summon something he couldn't control. If he's the one who gave you the monkey, this is worse than I imagined. Margaret pulled out a notebook and began scribbling. The Codex Umbri talks about objects like this, conduits that not only carry energy, but amplify it, using the innocence of those who activate them. Lily is the perfect conduit, because she trusts the monkey. But you, Emily, are the target. Someone wants to punish you. Punish you for what? I asked desperately. I didn't do anything. Sometimes it's not about what you did, it's about what you represent, Margaret said. I'll consult the codex. It's kept in a safe place outside the city. But until then, you need to keep Lily safe. Take this. She handed me a black stone amulet, with the same symbol I'd seen on the monkey's base, but reversed. Make her wear this. It might weaken the bond. I walked home with the amulet in my pocket, but the sense of security was short-lived. When I walked in, Mrs. Larson was in the living room, pale-faced. Emily, I swear I locked all the doors, but something's not right. She pointed to the floor. There were small, paw-like footprints in the dust leading to Lily's room. I ran upstairs, my heart pounding. Lily was asleep, the amulet I'd placed around her neck glowing faintly in the light from the lamp. But on the nightstand was a new drawing. It was the monkey, Charlie, with a larger drum, and around him were human figures drawn in red chalk, all slumped over. In the corner of the paper, in crooked letters, was written, "They're going to fall, Mommy." As I held the drawing, trembling, I heard a sound coming from the attic. Thump, thump, thump. But the monkey was with Margaret. Or was he? I ran to the car, opened the trunk, and there he was, free of the cloth. His drumsticks beating on the drum, his glass eyes fixed on me. I don't know how he got back. I don't know what that he wants. But I know that if I don't act fast, Lily and I will be next. The thump 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 sound echoed through the attic, each beat like a nail to my chest. Charlie was there, in the trunk, his glass eyes glowing in the dim light, his drumsticks moving, as if to mock me. How had he come back? I'd left him with Margaret, trapped in a circle of salt, but here he was, free, beating his infernal drum. There was no time for questions. I picked up the monkey, ignoring the chill that crept up my arms, and wrapped him again. This time, in an iron chain I'd found in the basement. I had to get back to Silver Moon. Now, I left Lily sleeping, the black stone amulet still around her neck, and ran to the car. The Salem sky was dark, clouds swirling like something was brewing. As I drove, my cell phone rang. It was Rachel from the hospital. "Emily, Sophie's waking up," she said, her voice a mix of relief and fear. "But she's been saying weird things about a drum." "What's going on?" "Stay with her, Rachel. Don't leave her alone, I said, stepping on the gas. Sophie was alive, but I knew that didn't mean we were safe. The monkey was still active, and every beat of the drum seemed to pull more people into the chaos. I reached Silver Moon with my heart in my throat. The store was dark, the door ajar, which wasn't normal. I pushed open the door, gripping the package with Charlie tightly. "Margaret?" I called, but only silence answered. The air smelled of burning incense and something metallic, like blood. On the counter, the salt circle was broken, the chalk smudged. My stomach turned. Something had happened. Then I heard a murmur coming from the back of the store. I followed the sound, my sneakers squeaking on the floor. In the back room, I found Margaret slumped over, holding the Codex Umbri. There was a shallow cut on her forehead, and she was pale, but alive. "He came, Elias," she whispered, pointing to the corner of the room. There, in the shadows, I saw a figure. It was him, the man in the long coat, the same one who'd given me the monkey. "Elias Crow, you shouldn't have refused the book, Emily," he said, his voice as cold as a winter wind. "The Codex was my key, and you blocked me. Now your daughter will pay the price. Leave my daughter out of this," I shouted, holding the package with Charlie. "What do you want?" Elias stepped forward, his eyes shining with a sickening intensity. "The monkey is just the beginning. He channels what's trapped in the Codex. Each beat of the drum awakens it a little more. And when he's done, I'll have what I've always wanted, power." Margaret stood, shaking, holding the book. "You don't understand, Elias. What's in the Codex cannot be controlled. It will destroy everything, even you." He laughed, a dry, sharp sound. "Then destroy it. But first, I'll make sure she suffers." He pointed at me, and just then, the bundle in my hands began to shake. The chains creaked, and the thump 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 boomed, so loud it made my ears ring. The monkey was trying to break free. Margaret acted quickly. She opened the Codex and began reciting words in a language I didn't understand, something ancient and guttural. The air grew thick, as if space itself were resisting. Elias lunged forward, but Margaret threw a handful of black powder at him. He screamed, covering his eyes, and fell to his knees. "Now, Emily," she cried. "The amulet." I pulled the black stone amulet from my pocket and pressed it against the bundle. The thump 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 grew faster, almost frantic, but then it began to falter. The chains stopped shaking, and the sound died away in a muffled groan. Elias writhed on the floor, as if something were being ripped from him. "No, you can't," he mumbled, before passing out. Margaret finished the chant, panting. "It's temporary," she said, closing the Codex. "The seal on the amulet has weakened the bond, but it hasn't broken it. The monkey is still bound to Lily, and Elias, he'll be back." "So what do I do now?" I asked, looking at the package, which looked harmless, but I knew better. "Take the monkey somewhere where no one can activate it. There's a crypt beneath the old Salem cemetery, sealed to hold things like this. I'll show you where, but you have to do it alone. And keep the amulet with Lily. It will protect her for now." I left the shop with the package and Margaret's instructions. I drove to Charter Street Cemetery, the oldest in Salem, where the crooked headstones seemed to whisper forgotten stories. The crypt was a hidden entrance, covered in moss, almost invisible. I used the key Margaret had given me and walked down the slippery steps, the cold, damp air enveloping me. At the bottom was a stone altar, surrounded by symbols that glowed faintly. I placed the monkey there, still wrapped in its chains, and recited the words Margaret had taught me. The air vibrated, and for a moment, I felt something watching me, something that wasn't Elijah. But then, silence fell. I returned home exhausted but relieved. Sophie was better, according to Rachel, and Lily was safe, sleeping with the amulet. The drum was no longer playing, but as I locked the door, I saw something through the window, a shadow in the yard, tall, in a long coat. I don't know if it was Elias or something worse. I know he's not finished. I know the codex is still out there, and that the monkey, even sealed, is not truly contained. For now, Lily is safe, and Sophie will live. But at night, when I close my eyes, I still hear a distant echo. Thump, thump, thump. And I know that one day, he might come back,